Well, praise the Lord, everybody. Welcome to OnPointe, the number one Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America live. Every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on any smart device around the world. Stream us and see us and hear us. The number one Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America. 866-743-8267. 866-743-8267 as we discuss faith, politics, culture, current events, religion, but all from a kingdom perspective. Every conversation we have is from a kingdom mindset, kingdom perspective, from a place of faith. So won't you please tag somebody right now, 4 or 5 people, invite someone to join us as we have this conversation, because conversations do change seasons. That's a kingdom principle that we must all understand. Conversations begin and end certain seasons in our lives. So give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 866-743-8267. 866-743-8267. That's 866-74-EVANS. You can give us a call. So we understand there's some things that have been happening around the world today that we're going to address. My world-famous co-host, Pastor Nicholas Smith, he is on his way. He'll be here within a moment or two. So we'll be glad when he joins us today, but we're also glad for you as we talk about those things that are close to your heart and give you the kingdom view, the biblical perspective on the life that you are facing right now, the arenas that you are involved in, but also give your perspective from God's perspective as to what you can look forward to even in troubling times. One of the things I want you to remember is that, especially those of you that are part of the body of Christ, it is very easy to allow these past 14, 15 months to be identified by, if you will, the culture's identification, that pandemic, the sorrow attached to the pandemic. But I want to remind you from the God point of view that sorrow for the kingdom of God is pregnancy, birth pain. So out of this season of complex trauma and much strain, I think, on not just your mind but your emotions and sometimes some spiritual challenges. It's good to know that God is birthing something in you, bringing something out of you much greater than you possess. Something that's changing the way you feel, changing the way you look, bringing you out in a way, not physical look, but how you look in the kingdom, what you appear to be in the kingdom. Will be improved, not a step back, step forward, not a step back, but steps forward as God brings us out of this season that the culture identifies as sorrow and God identifies as birth pains, producing something in us that has never been produced before. So you say, what is that? A new level of spirituality, another dimension of worship, another dimension of success and prosperity, both in your business and in your vocation. A stronger place in the inner man where you are more stable emotionally than you've ever been, because the problem with this pandemic is for many people, it has exposed some of the faults, some of the dysfunction, some of the weaknesses that the church, if you will, or activity was covering and hiding. So some people are making irrational decisions, irrational moves, quitting jobs in the middle of a pandemic, leaving their church in the middle of a pandemic, quitting organizations that they're involved in the middle of a pandemic when nothing has really been going on. What are you leaving? So it's not a rational or wise decision. So we want to make sure that you understand that during this time, God is not only revealing himself to you, but he's been revealing you to yourself. We want to make sure that we understand when the Bible says we look into a glass darkly, that image of ourselves is not clear, but if you think of God on the other side of the mirror, he sees us extraordinarily clear. And I want you to understand that what we are being changed to is his image. So he has to be able to see more of him in us. And when we see the reflection, our reflection in the mirror, we want to be able to see more of him in us. Well, Pastor Nick is here. 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. You can give us a call. Hey, man.
How you doing?
All right.
Good.
it wasn't for Brian,
Mm.
I'd forget my headset every week.
Yeah. I literally I was like, something's missing.
He looks at me, then he looks at both hands, headset, Bishop. So, and it's every week, so
Yeah,
I'm starting to worry about myself
I'm
here.
about to start leaving them up here. Just
Oh,
put them out here, man.
I like mine down in my drawer, Yeah. I don't know.
Nasty.
So I've been watching the Olympic trials, of course.
Yeah.
I'm looking at how this next generation of very young people, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, are challenging the established stars, but also how there are some established stars that are still able to perform at a very high level. And I wonder, well, I don't wonder, I know after you get older, what kind of commitment it takes to physically keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
And it's not that you don't have the strength, you have to have the desire,
Yeah.
not for the race, but for the preparation.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think people begin to be weary, is how do I prepare for this 47 seconds,
Yeah.
44 seconds, 43 seconds,
Yeah.
and the hours that you have to put in to be able to do that performance on that particular stage is just, so I see why athletes retire after a while.
Yeah.
Because, one training camp after another, after another.
Yeah, Usain Bolt was like, I'm out.
Yeah, but now he's talking about coming back.
Really?
Yes.
He's probably what? He can't be over 30, right?
He's like got to be 31.
31, okay.
And you got guys there at the peak of their powers. I mean, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price had a
Yeah,
baby and
she
came
is.
back, and she's still smoking.
Ooh, she is. She is.
Allison Phoenix.
Same thing.
And they said she had a tough pregnancy.
Yeah, and she came back.
But she came back, and she's showing signs of peaking at the games.
Those young girls running the 100, the girl with the
Oh,
orange
yeah.
hair and all. Yeah, they were.
Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the other two, they were.
Oh, yeah, they're smoking.
They are. We'll see what happens.
They're doing a job.
That's if they still. I think they're still gonna have it. There's too much money.
Well, I think the premise that I heard is that the only people, spectators, are going to be Japanese. And of course the athletes will bring their coaches. That'll be the minimal.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that they're going to have to get into the country 2 weeks ahead, stay in a bubble, quarantine place.
Yep.
And they make sure everybody's clear, because they don't want a resurgence in their country.
Yeah.
So the spectators will be primarily Japanese, which is and I can't see them not having it.
Yeah.
Because I think they've spent $100 billion to get ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money.
A whole lot of money.
And they can't depend on the Olympic Committee to bump everybody and say, okay, we'll do you next time. No.
Nope. They're gonna still have it.
But I'm really enjoying the trials, man.
But the NBA bubble worked, so it can work there if people obey. If the people do the right thing, stay in the bubble, and just
Now they had a couple players that snuck out of the bubble and caused a problem, right?
Yeah, and they kept them out.
So that's it.
No, they kept them. I mean, they were eventually allowed to come back in, but they had to stay out for like a couple of weeks in quarantine, even if they didn't test positive.
How dumb is that?
One guy left over some wings. Like, you wanted to go to Magic City and get some wings. Well, it was Magic City, but
Why didn't they have them delivered?
I don't know why, because they had their own personal chefs in the place.
Well, then
cooking for
make
them.
me some wings.
All right, but it was a strip club too, so I think he went.
Yeah, he went to the strip. He didn't go for no wings. He went for some wings, all right.
Right.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
So Derek Chauvin receives 22 and a half years for killing a man on international television.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a life sentence for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They give you 40 years for drugs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get out in 15. He's going to. And then I think it's supervised probation after that.
You think he'll survive jail?
Well, it depends on where they keep him. If they keep him isolated like they are now.
Yeah, well, if he's not mentally stable now, if they keep him isolated for 15 years, he'll be really off his rocker.
Yeah, unless they put him in one of those country club ones.
Well, he's not going to country club.
Yeah,
no, they're not going to do that.
Martha Stewart places.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. No, they're not going to do a Martha one.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do time with some inmates, but that's, I don't know if 22 years is an appropriate time for taking a man's life, because it certainly has not seemed to be an appropriate time for other people who have taken other people's lives.
We got much worse than this.
I mean, they get worse than this I've seen 30 years for marijuana.
Yep. And it's got willfully. It wasn't accidental.
No, you couldn't explain that away. It was, are you going to believe what you're telling me, or are you going to believe your lying eyes? That's what that was.
Yep.
So the Justice Department is going after Georgia concerning the voter registration issue. And I don't, if the federal government doesn't get involved, these, what I call rogue governors, are going to cause people some real problems. I don't know whether they're inadvertently trying to drive people out of their states, or if they just think like a bank thinks that if they turn down your request for a loan, they still are entitled to you keeping your money there.
Yeah. It's really, they're appealing to a certain base, a certain group, and they're playing the short game. That's what it seems like to me. There's no long term plan at all.
Yeah. So Supreme Court sides with Catholic Adoption Agency that refuses to work with LGBT. At what point do you have the right to run your business the way you want to? This is a very this question has multiple valid points of view. I'm not sure that my right to smoke should override your right to not be in that atmosphere. I'm not sure that my right to free speech, watch this, overrides your right to respond. But many times I'm finding that people think that you will use free speech. They think their free speech eliminates your right to respond out of your own free speech. What do you think about this?
I'm complex.
Okay.
I'm on the side of.
Well, we know you're complex.
Yeah, it's just the nuance of this whole thing. So I get to, Philly tried to ban them from participating in the foster care process in general.
Okay.
Because of this, Supreme Court said no, Philly, you can't do that.
Okay.
The Catholic Church should be allowed to decide who these kids, whose house these kids go into.
Yes.
So they said you guys can uphold your right to refuse to send kids to an LGBT household.
Right.
My struggle is this. When we go think about the overall health of the kids too.
Okay.
In the sense of this, not that I agree.
Okay.
But my question is, we know how the foster care system works.
Yes.
And we know how atrocious it can be at times.
Yes.
So again, not saying I agree, I'm just looking at the other side of it.
Yeah.
You got kids that could be in a bad foster care home.
Yeah.
Versus in a loving home that may be LGBTQ.
Okay.
Which environment is better for them?
I understand what you're saying.
And again, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just thinking of the other side of it.
I think, like I said, starting out, I think there are very valid responses on both sides. But here's the other thing. Are there other agencies that you have to go to? Or is this a statement being made trying to get the Catholic agency to change the way they do business?
I think it's the way.
Are there non-Catholic agencies you could go to get a child?
You can go to another agency.
So why do you go to a place? This is my problem.
Yep.
Why do you go to a place to start a controversy?
Yep.
Because you want to change the right of these people to do business this way from a religious point of view.
Absolutely.
Right. When you could go to a non-religious point of
Yep.
view
Yep.
and get your child.
That's exact. I agree with that.
Okay.
The government should uphold the Catholic Church's right to do what they do,
And not eliminate their right to go somewhere other than the Catholic Church.
There you go. So that's what I'm looking at.
But then it feels to me like this is more statement than it is concern.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as much about the kids as it is.
I need you to change the way you do business.
You can't participate in this program because of your belief system.
I would just go down the street.
Yeah, and go somewhere else.
I mean, it's like with the bakery thing a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You don't want to do my cake?
Go somewhere
Okay,
else.
I'll go down another baker. That'll do it. I mean,
exactly.
Jeez.
Is that the government should uphold religious liberties and religious rights.
Right.
Right. I always, maybe it's my compassion side. I always go towards the people, the kids, and how they're going to be affected by stuff.
Sure.
So,
but that's not to say that religious organizations are always going to have, pick the right homes.
absolutely.
You know, you don't really know what's going on. I mean, most people go to adopt a child, they present the best of everything.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Delta variant. I understand it's up to 29% now
Okay.
of the new infections in the United States. 29%.
Yeah.
And we've just pushed people back together, which means over the next month or two, this thing that raced through India is going to start multiplying here in this country. And I've been saying it for months. I think we've been pushing people back together too quickly.
Yep.
Because what I've seen, and I'm not any kind of viral expert or anything, what I've seen is if they identify a variant in another country, you can guarantee it will be here.
Yep.
It's already here. And that's what happened initially over a year and a half ago.
Yep.
They were talking about it was in Europe. Oh no, it's here already.
Yep. Because it's running through Britain now.
The Delta is.
The Delta is. England's hospital rates are back up.
Okay.
And if it's big in what you said, Colorado, I think one was Mississippi.
Yeah, it's spreading across the country.
Yep.
So that's 20% of all reported cases. But then you've got hospitals not volunteering testing, which means they're underreporting, which means they're sending people home, which can give a real number. We're not hospitalizing people as we were, but that is not the whole truth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Not the whole truth.
Not at all.
So they finally sentenced a defendant, grandmother, I think. She's not going to get any jail time. I have an issue. You had thousands of people broke in the Capitol, killed police officers, defecated in. That part I need a psychologist to explain to me. Defecated and urinated in the hallways, put the feces on the walls. Like, what do you put them on the walls with? Got to use your hands, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to know what kind of head says, okay, I'm going to leave my mark here.
Yeah.
You know, like some animal in the wilderness, leaving a pile of crap on the ground so the others around can see it and smell it. I don't get that part, but that's a whole nother conversation. How people got killed, and I don't think they made any arrests that day, if they made many.
No, I don't think they really made much of anything that day.
And people have simply been standing outside the Capitol and they arrested them because they were either too close or too loud or said something they didn't like. I don't understand. I do understand the disparity, but it offends me that the disparity was made so obvious. The other thing that's bothering me about this whole January 6th thing are the congressional leaders that are saying that this thing was a regular tour. So you're telling me every time we have a tour of the Capitol, they have to go through and fumigate the place and take feces off the wall and wash urine out of the corners? And I mean, what happens?
Let's go back and go forward. Even though this woman pled guilty and said she was sorry.
She's sorry? That's all you got to do now?
And she pled guilty. I'm sorry. The judge only said he went easy on her because she walked in. She's one of those people who walked in for 10 minutes and then left. All I know is this: even you're a senior citizen, if you broke into CVS,
it wouldn't matter how long I was in there.
It wouldn't matter how long the fact that you got in there.
It would be breaking and entering.
Thank you. And this is not a CVS. This is the Capitol, a government building. And after that was one of us, we would not get.
If they caught
probation.
my behind in the shop right after hours, they wouldn't care how long I was in there.
Would not get probation. Wouldn't get no, whatever they got, community service and a $500 fine.
Yeah.
Now the judge is claiming, to everybody else, don't think because she got off easy that he's going to let everybody else off easy.
Is it the same judge for the whole case?
I think he's judging like certain ones. I don't know. They may be doing it for each state, but this happened in Indiana.
I think they're turning some of the other guys.
Yeah. Well, see, this lady's talking.
Oh, is she?
She's talking. So I don't know how much she knows, but
I think some of the leaders of the organizations, faced with hard time and the prospect of not having a president that they thought might, get them out of jail, because a couple of them found out the former president wasn't thinking about them, and they're still in jail.
Yep.
So they were not on his list of people to consider,
Yep.
of giving pardons to. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
It just shows our justice system.
It's
truly
it's
not
it's
blind.
warped. It's warped.
It's warped.
It's
yeah.
warped. It's warped.
This was the Capitol building, a federal building.
I'm trying to tell you.
Like-
If any other group had invaded that place,
Mhm.
we'd be having a different conversation.
it would've
As a
shot
matter of
the whole
fact, there've
place
been some fatalities that day
A whole lot.
in the crowd.
A whole lot. If you got people marching on the street and you arrested them and throwing tear gas and all that stuff, you were prepped for that.
Now, mind you, or you're standing across the street from the White House in front of a church.
Yep.
And you tear gas them.
Mm-hmm. Just so the president can come
And they
out.
weren't trying to breach anything.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this thing in Florida, I need the news to stop lying to us. Somebody stop lying.
Mm.
The front of the building is gone.
Mm.
It fell at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
The only way that place is empty is if it's a place where people come just for vacation.
Mm.
But they keep saying who's missing.
Mm.
I don't get it.
All I know is that what I read was the engineer came in a couple years ago, told them this building is not safe to be in. They have pictures.
Wow.
They have literal pictures of the structure of the building having like defects to it.
And
it
they kept
leaning
selling.
some.
They kept selling
And
condos.
they kept
to
selling
people?
condos, people to come in, and then boom, all of a sudden it collapses. And
These people aren't just missing. I mean, there's some of them that are
Yeah.
trapped in there that they need to get to.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to be alive. That's the way all these disasters happen.
Yep.
But a lot of these people are not missing. When I looked at it, I'm like, okay, 3 o'clock in the morning, most people are in bed.
Mhm.
Your whole house collapses. Unless you got up to go to the bathroom
Yeah.
or you went to your back balcony for some reason, you got a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they're going through the rubble now. They've got some people out.
I called some folk I knew, man, and to make sure they weren't
Yeah.
in the building
Mhm.
because I didn't know where they lived. I just knew they lived in Florida.
Yeah.
But this is horrible.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to the structure. We talk about all this stuff, spending all this money.
Mhm.
We're forgetting about the structural part of the United States. We got old bridges.
Yeah.
We wonder why they're collapsing.
Yeah.
Old buildings, and then we say we got money for war, but we don't have money to keep maintaining what's going on over here. It shouldn't take a tragedy to say, "Hey, y'all."
Especially when the corrupt, if the engineers observed, revealed the structural damage years ago,
Mhm.
that means somebody was paid not to do a whole lot.
The building should have been condemned.
This is going to come back on the people that make the decisions. It could come back on the mayor. See, a friend of mine does this work in Florida, and a lot of some of this has to do with relationship with who's in office,
Okay.
and corners being cut. And if I'm going to call and see if they think they can give us an interview
Okay.
without
Yeah.
messing themselves
Yeah,
up.
saying too much.
Yeah, without putting their job in jeopardy. And I did make the call regarding Southern Baptist Church,
Okay.
and I'm waiting for a response back so we
Okay.
can get that interview also.
Okay.
I just this is crazy. But the only way a building could have structural damage and still continue to pass inspections.
Mm-hmm. Look at Louisiana, Hurricane Katrina.
Yes,
They knew that those what were they called again?
levees.
Levees. Thank you. The
Mhm.
levees could not withstand certain things, and they just kept them there.
Mm-hmm.
Why wait till a tragedy? Folk dead, or because it affected one group more than another group.
Well, it did. The water never got downtown.
Because Bourbon Street was still open.
Yeah, water never got downtown, Doc. I got friends in New Orleans. They told me
People was down there.
the water hit the neighborhoods where the people were, but as far as uptown, it never got
They
there.
was down there having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, phones lighting up 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. Give us a call. This is On Point, the #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America. We got Tom from Florida, and we've got Dan from Florida. I knew our Florida contingent was
Yeah.
going to start calling in because they're down there on the ground. So Arizona, while the lines are light up, Arizona refurbishes their gas chamber.
What's wrong?
We're
These
going
people-
backwards.
What is wrong with these people?
Why would they do gas chamber? You got needles for this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you want the person just to suffer? Like,
Because it's not for everybody.
yeah.
Let's go to Tom. Good morning, Tom. Welcome to On Point.
Good morning, Bishop, Pastor Nick.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing,
You
man?
guys talking about this building.
Man, your state stays in the news, Doc.
Right.
I'm telling you. Same with voting. We got all kind of craziness going on down here.
I know, man. What's up? What's happening? Give us the Florida side of the building disaster.
It's on. This is on 24/7, all three networks.
Okay.
We're not getting a break from it.
Okay.
159 people still missing. A lot of them are foreigners because it's a building that had snowbirds come in and out.
Okay.
Snowbird.
And you're right, it went down.
Snowbirds, people that
3
are
o'clock in
fleeing
the morning.
cold climates to go to a
Okay.
warmer climate.
Okay.
So it could be mostly retirees
Okay.
who leave
And a
Northeast
lot of foreigners.
and foreigners
Okay.
who come
Okay.
to get the Florida weather.
Okay. Cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that term. Okay.
Now, this morning, the big thing came out is that there's a sister building 1 block up the street.
I heard that the other day.
Well, they're right now they're talking about emptying it out before the day's out because their concern is designed, built by the same people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very concerned that they don't know what's going to happen with that building.
You know, this is going to come back on building and inspections and relationships with the mayor's office. All that kind of good stuff is going to start coming out. You know that, right?
Yeah, and we're hearing all kind of things from depending what news network you listen to, but there were holes found under the bottom. A lot of craziness going on with, and as far as people surviving, like I said, right now 159 people unaccounted for, and they found 4 dead. I use it that way, 4 deceased people yesterday.
Yeah. I think when I saw the pictures, the first thing I thought was how many people may have lost their lives. Because it looked like it reminded me immediately of the front of the building in Oklahoma when it was bombed. Yeah.
It looks almost identical to that, the way it actually looks.
Yeah. So then one lady said she saw a puff of smoke, which was very unusual. So I don't, they may be trying to say that, there may have been a terrorist thing, but here's my problem. If it was revealed that the building was defective years ago, A, what was going to happen to correct those if it could have? B, why did they keep letting people move in? And C, did they start some kind of relationship allowed this thing to stay in operation?
Yeah, there are even speculations on material used to build the building.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
More so than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll come out when they actually start testing the concrete
Yep.
and the rebar to see, if it was up to grade when they used it.
Mm-hmm.
So 40 years, no building should come down in 40 years.
No, man.
And Bishop, you said something else earlier. Just changing the subject to a better thing.
Okay.
The young lady who running track who had the hard pregnancy.
Yes, Allison Felix.
Yeah, she was on today's show, and she said something. They were talking about getting ready. She trains 5 hours a day. People don't think about
Absolutely.
the dedication. Because the older she gets, the more training it takes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And additional things, a lot of flexibility, a lot of joint attention, a lot of strength and endurance things, and because you don't have that tank that the younger people have anymore.
Even the young lady who's a super gymnast.
Yeah.
21, 22.
Simone Biles, man, she's a bad
She
girl.
said
She is.
6 hours a
It's
day,
harder
right?
for her to recover now than it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep. And she's saying 6 hours a day, man. 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. But I know even at college level and high school level, we were at least 2 hours a day. At least 2 hours a day. And not standing around talking. 2 hours a day, really getting at it. And not to mention what we had to do on the weekends, to really be at the level we were. So it takes a lot. And then when you get to this college level now and the pro level, that's your job. It's not like, you're sleeping all day till 12 and let me go jog for 45 minutes. No, ma'am. No, sir.
And Bishop, a lot of people may not know there was a guy who wrestled at Lincoln, I think 143 or 148.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Did okay. Good to talk to you, Tom.
Yeah, man.
All right, take care.
All right,
See you,
man.
Tom.
Bye-bye. So we got Danny from Florida on line 3. We got Tiffany from South Carolina. We'll take Danny first, and then we'll go to Tiff. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, man. How you?
Pastor Nick Staff. I'm just, listening and seeing exactly, the discussion that's going on this morning, and I just want to add some things. And Pastor Nick was right on it when he was giving his commentary on it, and being born, raised in Florida, and seeing the way that things are done. I know that we have the discussion as to who is more corrupt, either New Jersey or Florida. And I'm telling you, Florida has it beat. I mean, they up there number one as to how business is done.
I don't know if they wrote a book about yours though. We have a book called The Soprano State.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a library when this is all done.
You know the problem with the book, Danny?
Yeah, what's that?
It's all true.
Now, you know Florida, and you know how it is.
Yes.
Okay. The further you go north,
Okay.
the more solid the land is.
Okay.
South Florida, per se, is swamp.
Wow.
It's swamp. Most of the land is what they call reclaimed land.
Reclaimed from the water, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
The way that, and I'll make it as short as I can, the way that the land was reclaimed, they built a series of canals. If you go through South Florida, you will find canals. It's very important that they keep pumping the water out of the canals. If they don't, it all goes right back to swamp.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew
Check
that.
it out. You'll see that there's canal systems. If they don't pump
Well,
it out,
I know there's a canal system. I just wasn't sure. I thought it was just to keep the control of the water.
they have to. If they don't pump it out, Bishop, it goes right back to swamp.
Oh
Okay.
my.
And now the other thing is that they have what they call coral rock. It's not solid rock, it's coral rock.
Which
And
means
you have
under certain
within
pressure it'll
that-
break.
Yeah, you have water systems do that. It's the same rock that they use that they crush very easily to build roads, highways, etc.
Okay.
Now, they say there's no such thing as climate warming. And if you look and see exactly what's been happening is that we've been losing our beachfront year after year. Now, what they've been trying to do is bring in sand to replace that beach that was lost.
Okay.
But I don't think that you can come in that much and be spreading the sand. You're going to run out of sand sooner or later.
Well, you know
And that's
the
basically what's been happening.
the
Now,
ocean
to
is
add
like
to
the
that-
Holy Spirit. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go
To
ahead.
add to that, they know that all of these condos, within 10 years, that they have to replace balconies. Why? Because the rebar is rusted out.
Oh my. Does that happen on schedule like it should?
The thing is that the interval, 40 years, that's too long.
Okay.
So there has to be an inspection period as to what's going on. There's minds that know these things that's going on and that's happening.
I wonder if a lot of the developers want to make that investment, every 10 years or so. Because that would cost millions of dollars to replace the rebar in all the balconies on the properties that you own.
Or do I want to build my buildings as high? Or do I want to put in the occupancy as many rooms, how many, etc., that they're doing? Okay? And I'll say one more thing, and you can check it
Okay.
to see what's happening,
Okay.
is that within Fort Lauderdale, within Miami, there has been a big surge of building high-rise buildings.
But they're building
Which
on
is okay.
but they're
You
building
do
on
that,
top
but-
of swamp though, right?
Exactly. Not only that, your infrastructure, which Pastor Nick was talking about. You have not changed. You didn't change your roads. You never changed your sewage system. You never changed your water. Okay? So now if you had homes that was in a block, and let's say you had 30 homes on a block,
Mm-hmm.
now you put a high-rise there,
Okay.
and you put in, let's say, 150 apartments.
Bigger
Or
demand
condos.
on the infrastructure.
Not only that, as water goes up and you flush a toilet and water has to come down, you're now putting pressure on your sewage system.
Okay.
Check the record. Flooding, as far as our sewage lines breaking in South Florida,
Mm-hmm.
is terrible. They don't want you to know about it, but it's happening.
Wow. Wow. I know an expert in this whole as far as building and sewage and leeways and all that assessing. I know someone that's an expert at it, and a statewide expert. If I need to call them and see if they can talk to us without causing a problem for themselves in Florida.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why they build water towers, to get water pressure.
Is that what it's all about?
Yes.
Danny, you
So
know a
now
lot.
you
You,
put that
you
water
know a lot.
pressure
You know a lot of
on
stuff, Danny.
Yeah.
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 These roads, these structures were built in the 20s.
Wow. So you're saying Disneyland is sitting on a swamp, right?
Yes.
So I wonder what they do.
The situation with them is that they brought in so much land. If you look and you see when they were building it, they were bringing in rocks, they were bringing in soil to build it up
Okay.
above the water line.
Something my grandfather or grandmother told me when I was really young, that water always returns.
Return, exactly.
Yeah, water always returns. Danny, we got to let you go, man. Tell my sister I
Okay.
said, hey,
All right.
talk to you. We're getting ready to go to Tiffany from South Carolina. 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. Give us a call. This is On Point, the #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America. Tiffany,
Hello.
how are you this morning? Welcome to On Point.
Thank you. I'm going to take a turn of topics here.
What part of South Carolina are you from?
Rock Hill.
Okay.
So we had an issue, well, right when I think around the same time the Miami building collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on a street called Confederate Road.
Mm-hmm.
It was one black kid. The cops arrested him. He had guns and he had drugs.
Mm-hmm.
One of his friends came trying to help him. I don't know if they were both on drugs, but one of them, they were struggling. They were resisting arrest.
Mm-hmm.
One kid punched the cop.
Oh, my.
Well, so they handcuffed him, and then they just started beating on him. And here we go. BLM shows up, all these protests. I'm like, no, not Rock Hill. Come on. So it's a whole. It hasn't been national news, thank God, because I don't want all that here. But my thing, I'm just like, I hope they don't have cancel culture come around and they see, oh, Confederate Road. Let's take that sign down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much. South Carolina, I don't know. Some people are like, well, a lot of black people think it was wrong, and I'm like, well, the kid had guns, drugs, and he's punching the cop in the face. Well, there's something.
Did they have to
be?
did they have to beat him up, or could they just arrest him and take him to jail?
They were resisting arrest. They weren't.
Help me with something. How do you resist while you're handcuffed?
Mm.
To the point that several people have to beat you up because you're. What are you able to attack with if you're on the ground and you're handcuffed?
Yeah, yeah, good question. No, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I just know that it took them that much I just wanted to know how it took so many cops though to take him down.
Well, that's the whole point.
That's
the whole point. The whole point is, if an individual's handcuffed, he's on the ground, he or she's on the ground. The next step should not be to beat him up. The next step should be to get him in the squad car and take him to the station.
Yeah. But of course, one of the cops was suspended of course. So I don't know. I don't know the rest of the details yet. It really hasn't made national news, but I hope it doesn't.
No, it's going. It's going to. It's
wanna-
it's going to. Pastor Nick is looking for it now.
Yeah.
He's looking for it. It will. It will. The news cycle, because of social media, it is almost impossible not to have a story like this spread all over the internet, therefore all over the country.
Yeah.
So,
And we're not far from Charlotte, so I think we think they're coming from Charlotte to here. I don't know.
yeah, I'm sure the city will get some attention, and then of course it will get some attention because you've got roads called Confederate.
Yeah,
Yeah. What else did you have on your mind today, Tiff?
that's it. I just was wondering. I'm like, was that a legitimate protest, or did they? I mean, I'm glad.
Probably
That's
what they're going to
absurd.
protest is the over-response of violence once they were under control.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you spanking your child, but then deciding for good measure you're going to throw him down the stairs.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Gotcha. Understand.
Thanks for calling, Tiff.
Uh,
Call us again. Thanks for listening also.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now. 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. Give us a call. Did you find anything, Pastor Nick?
No, I was just looking up some of the Florida stuff, and they're talking about part of the Florida Keys is sinking from the water coming up. And it makes sense why. Whenever we go to Florida, as soon as I get home, I have to wash all my clothes because it smells it smells like a swamp
Yes.
everywhere in Florida. I'm like,
Yes.
it really smells like.
Yes.
Yes. It's really making more and more sense. Like,
Well, it's like
You know,
when you go to New York
it's
and you have the misfortune of standing on one of those grates while you're waiting, and the subways are going down, and that
yeah.
man, as soon as the first thing I do when I get home to New York
take a shower.
is take a shower and throw
Wash
my clothes in the
everything.
water.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
It's just, you feel dirty when you
Oh man, and I love New York, but man, oh man, it's got a feel
Yeah.
to it.
But the Rock Hill one, I agree with you that I would look at that too. Is we understand if a police officer is genuinely in threat, like somebody holding a gun to a police officer trying to kill him.
That's over.
We understand there's a response
Yeah.
that law enforcement has to make. But like you said, once you got him subdued, do you have to go
Do you have to bring 3 other guys in and you guys beat them up?
for extra measure? It's unnecessary.
I don't think anybody thinks that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Except people that are trying to defend their position.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We got Cindy on line 1. Good morning, Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Bishop Evans and
How-
Pastor Nick.
How you doing, daughter?
I'm doing good. I had to call after that. Well, I was going to call before that, but I don't know. She reminded me of my neighbor, who said that she didn't think Derek Chauvin did anything wrong. It's like we're seeing
He actually
the
said that?
world from such a different lens. I'm like, oh God, it's exhausting.
Cindy, did he actually see it, or was he exposed to the video?
They saw the video.
And he said he didn't
No.
see that he did anything wrong?
That's what my neighbor called me the day he was not sentenced, but when he was convicted, and that's what she said.
So she didn't. Did she ever explain why she thought there was nothing wrong with what he did?
She said that she felt that George Floyd could breathe because he was talking, the whole time. It's like, and her whole thing was, it reminded me of the caller just now, saying, now they're going to destroy everything and tear everything up. And I was so angry. I don't want to say what I really said, but I was like, I hope the whole country gets burned down if they let this guy go because, we don't get any justice. Why should anyone have any peace?
Well,
that's
but you can't burn down the whole country. But let me go
I
back
know.
to your conversation with your neighbor.
I was very angry.
So
and the
wait.
idea
Let me
of-
ask you questions. I need to get some clarity before we go further. So your neighbor said he could breathe,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Did your neighbor address when he stopped breathing?
Right. There
Yeah.
you go.
Oh no.
So
He could talk the whole time.
the death
you know,
part,
so-
the death part, your neighbor totally eliminated from the process.
Exactly.
Do you know what
Exactly.
kind of mind that has to be?
It drives me insane the idea
Okay.
that someone could.
He could
you know,
breathe.
I don't understand
Until he
the
couldn't.
Until he
mentality.
couldn't, exactly.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
He could breathe.
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it.
But the couldn't part,
Yeah.
she wasn't considering at all.
Right.
No, nope.
So he just stopped breathing on his own, as far as she was concerned.
Like people,
Well,
if
he
you
was
choke
on
somebody, they can
drugs.
still,
They used the
you know.
drugs then, when it comes to that. He was on drugs, so, and all that. It's just ridiculous. But see, beyond that, for me, it's like for you to justify and rationalize what we all saw on TV as a torturous murder, that it just gives me chills. Because
No,
what kind of
I think her perception is situational.
Yep.
If she had a relative or a child who was being treated that way, she would not have viewed that as not doing anything wrong.
right.
The man died.
Absolutely.
Restraining him is one
Yep.
thing. Killing him is another. Restraint and killing are not supposed to be the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and the caller just now. I posted the link in the chat, but I hadn't heard about it. But
I was a little
It's just-
surprised. I was a little surprised that she said one of her biggest concerns was she didn't want all that attention on her city.
that's what made me think about my neighbor.
Okay.
That right there.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, and it's called Confederate Street, and this, that, and the other. I'm like,
South Carolina is a very racist state.
Yeah, well,
Extremely
Yeah.
racist.
everybody knows that.
It feels very oppressed when you go into the states.
So you got relatives there.
Yeah. You could feel the
Me too.
difference from North Carolina to South Carolina.
From north to south, you can
Yeah,
feel the difference?
North Carolina still feels more open, more vibrant. South Carolina, you feel the oppression when you go into the state.
Now you have
Yeah.
just where your grandparents lived and
My
everything.
grandma and a whole bunch of my family lives down there.
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. The air is different or something.
Yeah.
But I have the other reason I called because I wanted to know if you saw the video from Pat Robertson yesterday.
What video?
When he was talking about critical race theory,
How did I miss it? What
Yes.
happened? What
I
happened
didn't
now?
watch it. I didn't want to listen to him.
Oh my God! I mean,
Cindy,
he was sitting there saying-
can you give us an unemotional, unbiased assessment of what you saw? If you're not capable of that, then Pastor Nick will look it up for ourselves.
I'm gonna be calm and just here's the quote. He said, "Critical race theory. This is the way the communists take over. They try to destroy the children." He said it's monstrous evil, and you hear, "Oh, critical race theory. That's okay." No, it's not. You don't want to have your children in third grade indoctrinated into a hate group so that he'll wind up hating people or hating himself. And so the white people are supposed to feel guilty, and they're supposed to have white guilt, and people of color are supposed to cleanse them of that guilt by taking over. It's a monstrous evil. And then he also said that black people were going to pick up a whip, and, oh, here it is. He says, the people of color have been oppressed by white people, and that white people begin to be racist by the time they're 2 or 3 months old, and therefore the people of color have to rise up and overtake their oppressors, and then, having gotten the whip handle, if I can use the term, then to instruct their white neighbors how to behave.
Good morning. Thank
Now
you for
that-
calling On Point.
Oh,
Hello.
We hear you,
Crystal, you're bleeding in,
yeah,
Crystal.
I guess the call dropped.
No, you're there. You're there. Hold on.
Hello.
Stay there. Stay there.
Hold on.
Cindy, is that you?
Yep.
Okay. So, Pastor
I
Nick.
don't know if you heard all that.
Yeah, I heard.
but
We heard it all. Pastor Nick.
Yeah.
Can you
that's
give us a
must
2 or
be
3
me.
sentence
He said,
definition
"We're
of?
gonna pick up the whip."
Wait, Cindy. Can you give us a 2 or 3 sentence definition of critical race theory?
Critical race.
No.
theory.
I'm asking Pastor Nick to do it.
I mean,
Oh, okay,
the basis of it is that America institutionally is built on racism,
Okay.
founded on racism,
Okay.
and it thrives off of racism.
Okay.
That's big. I mean, it's more complex than that, but that's really a general.
Okay. So
overall
what is the to me, there's a difference between awareness and guilt. I don't think someone who's 30 years old has the experiential context to feel guilty about something, but an awareness of an injustice does not accuse you particularly of the injustice.
Yep.
But it does make you aware of the injustice that our country's system was founded upon.
Yes.
Yep. And understand how current, I hate to use this phrase, but current groups of Caucasians continue destruction.
To perpetuate that, yes.
Whether through silence or intentionally keeping it that way.
So why is it seen as a threat to raise up something that's a intrinsic and is a part of the life of certain people or cultures in this country, to make you aware of something that you need to correct? Because not to make you aware of it will allow it to perpetuate in the way that it has, or allow you to kind of bask in your ignorance, bathe in your own ignorance, so you don't have to do anything.
It's something that we theorized a while back, but Pat Robertson confirmed it. They're afraid that we are going to do to them what they did and do to us.
That whole whip thing is him not wanting the situation to be reversed.
Yeah. Which means they know they're wrong.
Yeah, well, they know they're wrong, but the other thing is that if that was the contextual mindset of African American people at large, there would have been massive uprisings. But the brown people have always wanted justice, not to take over.
Yep. We not here trying to run everything.
So that tells me why some of my white contemporaries were so threatened when President Obama became president.
Yep. They thought they thought it was going to be reversed.
Well, the guy told me we've been in charge for the last 8 years. I said, in charge of what?
Thank you.
We knew about that, Bishop.
We knew we weren't in charge.
Yep.
In charge of what, man?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. I didn't see that. I think I'll have to eat my breakfast first and then get the gumption up to watch Pat Roberts.
Yeah, I posted the link in the chat.
Yeah, I can't watch certain things at certain times of the day, but I'm going to try to watch it after I preach today, because I want my heart to be right when I stand up before the people today. Thank you, Cindy.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We've got somebody on line 3, but we've only got about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me say hello to him.
Speak to the bishop.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Bishop.
Hi.
Who's calling?
Reva.
Hey, Reva, how are you? We only have about a minute left. Would you mind calling us next week first thing at 9 o'clock?
Okay, I will.
All right, I appreciate you now.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so intense discussion today.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So, of course, we want to invite everyone to our drive-in service. It begins at 11:30. You should start arriving at 11 o'clock. Park as close as you are allowed to park. Of course, we will be ready to rock and roll at 11:30. The weather has cleared up, so we're going to have a great time in the Lord as we continue in our series, The Power of Confession. We're going to talk about, I believe, unwavering faith today. Tomorrow, 8 a.m., is our Men's Day.
Yes, sir.
And Dr. Darius Daniels is our preacher tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Then we've got Engage Live from 9:45 to 10:45. And then we've got our 11 o'clock Encounter Worship Service, and our special guest for our Men's Day is Bishop Samuel Blakes from New Orleans, Louisiana. We're so glad to have both of these great men of God as our guests for Men's Day tomorrow. Yep. And of course, we have a Men's Day panel at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, so you can celebrate Men's Day with us all day long. Our Men's Day assessment, our special seed that day, is $100. I'm going to do double that at $200, and asking every man that will to join me in that dimension of giving. We want you to mail us your prayer requests. Email them to social@gotobethany.com. That's social@gotobethany.com. Always want you to subscribe to David G. Evans 1 and BBC of NJ on YouTube. And I also want you to subscribe to our DGEMS, DGEMS, and our OnPointe podcast platforms. Got some great things going on and great things planned for you in the future. Now remember, faith acts like a thing is so, even when it's not so, that it might be so. For Pastor Nicholas Smith, I'm Bishop David G. Evans, and thank you for joining us on OnPointe.